Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Waterbury Board of Education regular meeting at Waterbury Arts Magnet School. Begin with a silent prayer. I would like to ask Superintendent to say a few words.
Thank you, Madam President. In our prayer this evening, let us remember the 49 deceased and 53 injured victims of the mass shooting that occurred early Sunday morning in Orlando, Florida. Let us stand in solidarity with the LGBTQ and Orlando communities who exemplify courage and resilience in the wake of such a senseless, hateful violence. We mourn the friends and family who lost loved ones in the attack and pray for a speedy recovery for the injured.
Thank you. Commissioner Harvey?
Okay. Thank you. In our moment of silence, I'd like to have us also remember the passing of Mrs. Wilma Foster Gilliam. She was the wife of B. Bernard Gilliam. They were a teaching force here in the city of Waterbury. She passed away on May 31st. Her obituary did not appear in the paper, so I had to do a lot of research on the web. And just to give that, she taught at 7th grade at the Wallace Middle School. I remember her as a teacher of history at Crosby High School. But most importantly, I remember that she taught African American history during a time that we did not have that information, and she was a very, very good teacher. On the web, there were comments made that she was, and I concur, she is a beautiful person. She demanded a lot from us and expected a lot from us. She was a phenomenal teacher, and she was an excellent role model. So, and also we should remember that she was part of the recruitment from the HBCUs, the historically black colleges and universities during the 70s, late 60s, early 70s. So she, along with her husband, taught in this district. So please remember her during our silent prayer.
Commissioner Stango.
Thank you, Madam President. This morning, the Waterbury Retired Teachers Association held their 21st annual memorial celebration, noting the teachers of Waterbury who passed, retired teachers who passed during this past school year. I would like one more time to read their name into the minutes. There's 24 of them. These teachers taught in Waterbury for many years and have passed this school year. Judith Bannon, John Bolin, Doreen Castaldi, Eugene Colangelo, John P. Carey, Betty Q. Corbett, Judy DeVino, Martin DeFazio Sr., Theodore Donahue, Joyce Dazinski, Francis Kennedy, Mildred Laney, Ann Latanzio, Ann Angela McEntee, Alice M. McKinney, Marie Ponzillo Travisano, Eunice Ram, Lois Reynolds, Thea Rickey, Diane Rockwell, Victor Scher, Donato Santoro, Ida Turner, and Harriet Urban. 24 of our fine teachers retired past this year. I remember them tonight also.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Harvey?
Here.
Commissioner Hernandez?
Here.
Commissioner Pagano?
Present.
Vice President Rodriguez?
Here.
Commissioner Stango?
Here.
Commissioner Sweeney?
Here.
Commissioner Theriault?
Here.
Commissioner Jason Van Stone? Here. Commissioner Tom Van Stone?
Present.
President Brown?
Here. Thank you. I'd also like to note that one of our former Kennedy High School students, Nelson Roman, has played a leadership role tonight in organizing the memorial for the Orlando victims. So we're very proud of Nelson, and our hearts are with him tonight at Library Park. Communications, copy of communication dated June 2nd, 2016 from Civil Service certifying Shelley Diziel for the position of Administrative Associate 2. Copy of communication dated June 9th, 2016 from Civil Service certifying Michael Ackerman for the position of Maintainer 1. Copy of communication dated June 13th from Civil Service certifying Tracy Brownwell for the position of Maintainer 1. Communication dated June 14th from James Tessitore, Connecticut Education Association regarding department head job descriptions.
Motion to receive and place on file communications is read.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Thank you. May I have a motion to suspend the regular order of business?
Motion on the regular business to hear from the public.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. James Shine.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the Board of Education. I know many of you, been around for a little bit, members of the public. Again, just to introduce myself, my name is Jim Shine. I am the chairman of the Waterbury Board of Assessment Appeals. I am a former para at Wallace Middle School. I worked there for 3 years. I'm an author of a book called The Whole Classroom Left Behind, which was based on my, I forgot, Superintendent Olet. I couldn't forget you. Anyways, based on my personal experiences working there, and I've decided to come forward tonight, say a few words. I know I only have 5 minutes, so I'll try to keep my comments brief. Again, about this organization, PAL. I understand there's talk at this point of getting a building for PAL for a very few number of students. Now, PAL is a great organization. I praise it to the skies in my book, but I don't think that the math really works out. When you're talking about spending $3,000 per student to get space, which we really don't need. As been pointed out, we have about 800 empty spaces in the middle schools due to the fact that we've been going to the K through 8, so you no longer have as many kids going into the middle schools as we did previously. So there's amounts of space becoming available in these middle schools, which I'm sure if we did some research, you could find a place for the PAL kids. We also have Rose Hill and other spaces available, so I really don't think it's necessary at this point to spend all this money for PAL. I think Commissioner John Thierol is right on this point, and I hope that the other commissioners will look at some of his calculations and realize he's saying some things that make some sense. Now, going on to some broader subjects, we talk about $3,000 per kid for this new program. If we do some math, we'll find that the city of Waterbury is actually spending a tremendous, it's not just the city of Waterbury. If you take the state of Connecticut and what the city of Waterbury is spending, you're talking about almost a $300 million expense on education in Waterbury. Now, with 19,000 students, that works out to, if you throw in what we're paying for the bonding on all this $300 million in schools, which we built in the last 10 years, if we throw in the bonding expenses, plus the math of 19,000 kids and $300 million, we soon find that we're getting up to close to $18,000 per student to educate our kids here in Waterbury. And now that is a ridiculously high amount. It's much higher, again, I did some research for my book, it's much higher than they're paying in suburban towns and other districts, And I think that, the time has come to look at this from an outside-the-box standpoint. Now, what are we getting for all this money that we're spending? Again, I've been a taxpayer advocate. I fought against the mill rate increase that recently went into effect. What are we getting for our money? Well, many of our students are performing in only single digits when it comes to grade level. So we're having, and many of our kids, I know we're handing out diplomas, many of these kids are functionally illiterate when they're getting these diplomas. So the time has come, and I think it's far overdue, to begin doing some thinking of outside the box as to what can be done. First thing, we have to stop social promotion. I saw when I worked at Wallace, kids that got 20s and 30s all year long were still being promoted to the next grade. Excuse me?
1 minute.
Thank you. Well, again, we have to start thinking outside the box. We need to start looking at vouchers. I think that this group should start a committee to begin looking at school vouchers as a way to get some of our kids out of these failing schools. Now, again, I don't have time to go into all these issues in 5 minutes. I have written a book. I am going to donate 3 copies to this Board of Ed. I can't afford to give copies to everyone on the Board of Ed, but I'm going to give 3 copies. You can share them among yourselves. I think and get some ideas of where I'm coming from. Thank you very much. I would have said a lot more, but 5 minutes, you can only do so much. Take a look at my book and start thinking outside the box. The taxpayers are not just asking for it, they're demanding it. Thank you.
Okay, Danielle Albert, please.
Hey, everyone. Over the last 2 years, I've spoken multiple times in regard to school climate, safety, and the need for additional support services in our schools. We need appropriate solutions to address the mental and physical health and safety needs of our children. Months ago, I said one day the wrong child was going to get hurt. By the wrong child, I meant the child with a parent who knows their rights, who's not afraid of speaking up, and who will fight for the safety of their children and the children in whatever school they are attending, even if it meant putting a red flag over their heads. Last Wednesday, the wrong child got hurt when my 11-year-old Elizabeth was threatened and later slapped across the face by a male classmate. Throughout the course of this year, I've been spoken to by students and parents about situations occurring. Some may have been rumors and others weren't. Prior to assaulting my daughter, the same male student did in fact hit another child in the face with a scooter. That is not a rumor, but a fact. Whether it was documented or not, I cannot say. Months ago, my daughter was threatened during music class by a male student who said, "If you don't move over, I'll kick you like a dog." I expressed my concerns about Elizabeth, the escalations of student safety at Gilmartin to Mrs. Dwyer and at Governance Council, and most recently, John Herman. Tuesday morning at Gilmartin, after my middle daughter's PPT for TAG, I was unexpectedly asked by Mr. Herman to join a meeting. I was met with Mrs. Dwyer, Pam Bain, Marianne Merrill, Roberta Abel, and Mr. Herman, a situation that could have been perceived as very intimidating to some parents. Concerns were discussed, and I was assured that the situation at Gilmartin was under control and not as bad as being perceived. I was encouraged to help shut down rumors and refer concerns to the right place. I reminded everyone that there were discussions that took place at Governance Council regarding bringing it to the source. There was a discussion about the recent article. I expressed that parents weren't concerned so much with having free reign in the building, but more so that this lighter touch and discipline isn't working. 8 arrests to none, a 27% drop in suspensions, 82 parents out of 500 are pleased. That does look like progress, and I was reassured that changes are happening. The difficulty, I explained, is that the successes are not what we are seeing and hearing. If everything is wrapped in a pretty little box, there has to be a way to break the negative perception and connect parents to the reality of what's happening, if it actually is. The perception is this district wants to hide the numbers, pretend the problems don't exist, and doesn't want a paper trail of horrible behaviors. Instead of removing the children who have documented write-ups, suspensions, and discipline issues, the attitude is let it go. A situation like the one involving my daughter is not the only one that exists in this city. Remember the dad who was brave enough to come here because his daughter was repeatedly getting assaulted on the school bus, while his perception was the principal did nothing. I'm just looking for solutions. This whole thing affects the psyche and morale of every student, and it's a huge draw off the resources in the buildings. I was never told that I could file a situation form to document the behavior of those students that are affecting the building in a negative way. I took it upon myself to file a police report to actually start a paper trail on the perpetual repeat offender that hit my daughter. I don't know when enough is going to be enough. The truth is it's time to get resource officers in our K-8s, one-on-one pairs for our students with special needs, double up on social work, keep behavioral techs, and get the teachers the dependable support they need. How about you use State Street or Enlightenment for their real purpose? Move the disruptions to the appropriate setting instead of forsaking the education of all the rest of the children. At the impromptu meeting on Tuesday, I suggested to all the administrators who took the time to seek me out that they set an open forum for all parents to address safety concerns. I suggested having parents come with prepared questions so the tone of the meeting can be kept intact. There needs to be trust and mutual respect with all parents to help squelch rumors and keep communication open. You as a board have said you can't do anything unless you are aware, and you have been made aware for a long time. Time is spent hitting the repeat button of building schools, the Pell purchase, putting money into turnaround programs. Now it's time to really start to look at what's going on and start to really create some solutions to these problems that are happening. This isn't a game. These are the lives of our kids, and any parent that comes forward, it really does take a lot. You have to start looking at ways to fix this, because honestly, what this is teaching our children is that children are learning that there's an excuse for everything.
Let's see, Alexander Zauner. Sorry if I mispronounced the last name.
Good evening. My son Raymond Rosario Jr. has just finished 6th grade at Gilmartin. He started 6th grade having 2 absences since the start of 3rd grade. This year he's had 5. He's a good child who is never in trouble and has been a student of the month every year while attending Gilmartin. All throughout his 6th grade, Raymond was bullied by a classmate. He could not go to school without vomiting in the morning. He would have to leave school early because he was sick. I spoke to his teacher often. He would have to leave class to throw up or to use the bathroom. This went on for a while, and he did not want to talk about it. We took him to the doctors, and he even had to have x-rays done to find out what was going on. He was even put on medications for his stomach issues. Every time he would leave early, I would call the doctor, who said something else must be going on. There must be something else wrong. Our son finally revealed to us that he was being tormented by a child. He sadly said, "I do not understand why this is happening. I am a good kid." Even though we would reassure him at home that yes, he is a good kid, this all continued. His teacher asked if there was something going on at home. I told her what was going on at school, and she suggested we meet with the school's guidance counselor, so that's exactly what we did. After speaking with the guidance counselor, it was decided that we would do a bully report, and we were assured that there would be no retaliation. We were told that Gilmartin has a 0 tolerance for bullying. We were assured that the guidance counselor would check on our son at least once a week to see how he was doing. She never did. Our son learned to cope and deal with what was going on and what he was going through, and told us things had quieted for a brief period. Then the nurse called and told me this same child hit my son in the head with headphones. No one in the office ever called to tell me about this incident or what happened. About a month ago, I received another phone call from the nurse. She said, "He is okay, but he was hit in the head with a scooter at gym class. The office should be calling to let you know the details." I asked to speak to my son, and he told me the same child who has been bullying him all year was the one that hit him. I asked my son if anyone was around, and he said that this child had a 1-to-1 aide. I waited for the office to call. They never did. I called and left a message for the principal that day. She never returned my phone call. This has been my son's 6th grade year at Gilmartin School. We are fully aware this child has bullied and tormented other kids, not just our son, all year long. So when does it end? Why are you not protecting the kids like mine who go to school, who participate, who get good grades, and don't get in trouble? Why is the behavior of this other child acceptable? You're not helping my child to receive the proper education. You're not helping that child to receive the proper education. So who exactly is winning here? The only people that are winning are the district, because you don't have to pay for this kid to go to another school, and that's sad and abusive towards the others who continue to be hurt and bullied. This has now become the price of my child's education. If you will not change the situation, then we will fight until something changes. If the district and the school will not advocate for my child the way they preach to be doing, then it just gives me more work to do myself. The recent newspaper article is nothing but smoke and mirrors and lies. You tried to blame Dr. Bursler for the lack of support and order. Why then is the school the same now? We are sick of incident after incident being brushed under the rug. We will go to the police. You have your PBIS guidelines, and in your guidelines, level 4 is assault and battery or throwing an object with intent to harm. Your interventions are mandatory call to police, referral for consideration of possible expulsion, and arrest. Why was none of this done? Twice. Twice my son was hit.
1 minute.
And twice nothing was done. Twice I was not notified. Twice his father was not notified. It's completely unacceptable. So when does it change? Thank you.
Thank you. Margaret O'Brien.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me speak. How many of you know or have someone in your family that has an autistic child? There are 5 spectrums of autism: disintegrative disorder, Rett's disorder, autistic disorder, pervasive development, and Asperger's disorder. Connecticut's primary mission for our autistic children is, quote, to provide a comprehensive educational opportunity for every spectrum level in all our students in a safe and challenging environment. And in 2015, state report read that we have approximately 230 autistic children, students in our district, ages 3 to 21. Roughly, we have 60 of those students within our 6 ABA classrooms, which is applied behavioral analysis. The other children are divided into out-of-district or able to be in the mainstream, full or part-time, or elsewhere. I am not sure, the report was not full. When it comes to identifying an ASD, autistic spectrum disorder child, behavior during a meltdown caused by a trigger could be anything. And depending upon which spectrum they have, their vocabulary may not be target age. The ABA teachers are usually educated and retrained knowing 22 steps of 4 tiers of observation to help diffuse any of these meltdowns. Autistic children with an IEP should be assessed daily. Each day is different. It is their own world and not consistent to our world. In the past 3 years, 1,300 incidents of injury of an autistic child from being restrained or placed into inappropriate seclusion was reported by the Connecticut State Department of Education. Federal and Connecticut laws and regulations are in place that prohibit certain restraints of autistic children and is explicit as to what seclusion rooms should look like or be set up as. In 2011, the Federal Interagency Autism Coordinating Committee submitted to the Department of Health and Human Services in the federal government to establish PL 109-416, stating the following, quote, utilization of restraint or seclusion should be viewed as a treatment failure that exasperates behavioral challenges and induces additional trauma. To get to my point, when was the last time you reviewed or visited our district schoolrooms of seclusion to see if our Connecticut procedures are being followed? How would you react as a parent or grandparent if your autistic child you had learned throughout the day, even though the IEP states it's fine, was placed into seclusion, not approved by the state of Connecticut? I recently represented a family of a severe autistic child, a student in our district. This child's communication skills were way behind his age. The child had meltdowns. They couldn't figure out the triggers. They didn't try. They admitted it. Because knowingly their world is so different than ours, the adults in the room restrained the child, causing more of a meltdown in front of their autistic peers within the room. This child was then placed in the middle of several bookcases, formed into a corral with 3 to 4 adults circling this corral, using a gym mat over the child to hold this child down and with inside darkness. This was their answer to seclusion in this particular school. If you want the school name, I can give it to you afterwards. I think not. As an advocate of this state, I was appalled. I don't know how many of our schools utilize this form of seclusion. This is a lawsuit waiting to happen. You're lucky this time that the child didn't get hurt physically, but the child was hurt emotionally, delaying his trust in the caretakers and not understanding why this was happening. PA 15141, effective July 1st, 2015 in this state, seclusion is not to be used for discipline purposes, but protection of a student. The seclusion should be size appropriate to chronological age and developmental age, size, and behavior. Ceiling height must be comparable to ceiling the height of the other rooms in the building, equipped with heating, cooling, ventilation, and lighting, as to the rest of the rooms in the building. Have a door with or without safety lock approved by fire marshal. The area in which student is secluded needs to be equipped with a window or other fixture allowing such student a clear line of sight beyond the one of seclusion. This is the short version from a 9-page document provided to me by the state of Connecticut. What is with Waterbury and its failure in following regulations for our children? In my 27 years as a private advocate, I thought things were improving here, getting better. I guess I was wrong. Spending money needs to stop where they don't need to go. Start cleaning house first. I am here to continue to fight those who cannot. For those parents who need an advocate because they don't know there are laws and regulations in place to protect their children. I am not going away. It is time to make all our children safe. It is up to you, the Board of Education, to start asking more questions, make your administration accountable on all levels, and you are elected officials. We're going to hold you accountable now. Thank you very much.
Kevin Egan.
Good evening, Commissioners. Kevin Egan, 46 Windsor Street. Once again, I come in front of you this week to reiterate that the WTA is very opposed to the one-year renewable reapplication process and concern with the department head new job description. As one of our department heads stated to me, it de facto makes the rest of the job description irrelevant, because what we're going to have is open ourselves to a system of favoritism where the department heads will be told either do this, or at the end of the year, you won't have your job back. It will not be the first time that something like this happened. It was stated last week that either most or all the administrators were for the one-year renewable reapplication process. I heard 2 speak, Jade Golpe and Lou Padua. Most of the other administrators that I spoke to, and I spoke to many of them, were not for the one-year renewable contract. Has this board spoken to enough people to make the right decision tonight? We understand the whole process. We understand you have the right to put a new job description in. We never denied that. We understand that you could do this, but we are requesting impact bargaining because we do believe the job is going to be different. I'd like to reiterate, currently there is no procedure to post jobs in the summer. Many teachers on vacation don't even have access to email. They are not required to, would not be required to come in for an interview or go through an interview process. If you're being told that you do not have to negotiate the one-year renewable reapplication process and you unilaterally put that in place, I believe you might be getting some poor legal advice. If that happens, we'll be forced to file an unfair labor practice, and then of course, beyond that, request impact bargaining, which we've already stated we would do right now. We just ask that you take a very close look at voting on this tonight. If you vote on it tonight and it's approved, we understand you have every right to do that, but we would like to impact bargain. We like to complete the impact bargaining, and whatever is the result of that impact bargaining, then you move forward, somehow put this position into place when school comes back around in session in August. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Chief Vern Riddick.
Good evening. I come before you first as a taxpayer in the city of Waterbury, as all of you, so I appreciate the fact that you're trying to save money dealing with the PAL lease and the potential of renewing it. So I pay over $8,000, so thank you. I do appreciate that. I think that's your job. I also appreciate and can relate to the fact of being a public figure, that the scrutiny that you're under, the abuse that you take, verbal and otherwise, I appreciate that. So thank you very much for what you do. I obviously have a vested interest being the vice president of PAL, as well as the police chief in this lease. And I contemplated whether I should come here or not. With the question being, I saw the article in the newspaper and it talked about the value of the lease, and it was Mr. Van Stone, and I just wanted people to know that, and I think you're doing your job, so please, there's nothing negative towards you. We're not trying to gouge the city at all. This lease has been in place since 2008. There have not been, including this year, there'll be 4 years of no increase in the lease, and we're here on the same side. We really are. It's all about our youth, our students, and the select group of students that are in this facility for a reason. They're here because they've been pulled out of the other schools because we're disrupting the learning environment for other people. At the time this lease was brought into place, we provided a service to the city that the city needed. Yes, it's a symbiotic relationship. We benefit from it too. The lease with PAL represents approximately 12% of our budget at PAL. But the other side of that means 88% of our budget we do it on our own, and we'll continue to find ways. But again, I just hope that does not become politicized, that it's not personal. You're doing a great job, I appreciate it, but there's a lot of value to this lease well beyond the monetary part. Look back to what that location used to look like. Motorcycle gang outlet, garages, abandoned cars, tires everywhere. Now we have Reed School. Now we have the Mescola Manor on North Main Street. The value of that lease has increased. That school has increased the value of the property in that area. It has improved the quality of life, and I think also for the students. Thank you for your service, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public that wish to speak? Please state your name.
Thomas Peltier, 112 Concord Street. Sorry I wasn't here to sign up earlier. I just wanted to reiterate what the chief said. I happen to be a taxpayer of the city. I happen to be a public servant that works for the city of Waterbury in the education department. As a member of the education department who had worked in the State Street School, I have to say that I believe that State Street should stay where it is. We've invested a huge amount in that school, along with paying with the lease. You know, we hear about all this talk about we should go to Rose Hill. First of all, Rose Hill, why would we move to a school that we're going to have to invest in fire code and everything else when we've already put a huge amount of money into the PAL building, not only between PAL and the city of Waterbury, but we need to make a decision here. And with speaking with the principal there and other members of the faculty there, they would like to stay there because I got to tell you, from a front-hand point of view, with being there, between the Police Activity League and the police and these individuals that have been at that school, it's been a turnaround for some of those individuals. You know, a lot of people say that these are the worst of the worst, but I got to tell you, and seeing them there, there's been a change. And, you know, I can't understand how it almost seems like listening to the radio and everything else that from some people, it's almost like it's a personal vendetta against PAL. Listen, yes, PAL is our landlord there, but we need to make a decision here, whether or not we're going to buy the building or we're going to lease again. I would hate to see these people have to move again and have to go through all this, you know, having to get a new building and get in fire code and everything else. This board needs to make a decision here. I don't know how we're going to go through that with, you know, we need to make a decision here. That's what we elected you to do. We have some people that are against it because of vendettas against the administration. We have some other people that with vendettas against PAL. But the fact of the matter is, between PAL and State Street, they've been able to work together, and I know for a fact the principal would like to stay where she is. So we need to make a decision on this. You guys, the kids are out. This is game time for you guys. We need to see where we are going with this education department. You know, watching you guys in the last few months, you know, there are some people here that get it. There are some people here that have their own vendettas, and that's fine. We'll deal with them in November. But the fact of the matter is, the kids are out. We need to figure out, you know, we have this Alliance grant that we don't know where we're going with the state of Connecticut. We have a lot of things that are coming about that we need to figure out, and we're worried about stuff that has nothing to do with what we need to worry about right now. And, you know, we ask this board every year what budget cuts you can make. And it seems like everything gets pushed off to the mayor's office and the board of aldermen. You know, listen, this mayor is a fine man, and he'll take the hits. But when we ask you for something, let's not push it off to him. You know, I know everybody doesn't want to be the bad guy, but we need to think outside the box here, okay? Because our kids, that's what comes first here. And you have 2.5 months to figure it out. And, you know, when you got people that leave the meeting because it's almost like they're having a temper tantrum because they don't get their way. You have one person that seems to, you know, she's upset that she's not the vice president. You have another one with a personal vendetta against PAL. We got to figure it out here, folks.
Point of order.
We got.
Thank you.
No, ma'am. I have the right to speak. I'm a public servant.
Time.
You serve for me.
Time.
Thank you.
Time.
Any other speakers? Can I have a motion to return to the regular order of business?
Motion to return to the regular order of business.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Okay, superintendent's announcements.
Thank you, Madam President. Very, very brief tonight. Through the efforts of Patricia Moran, Supervisor of Preschool Education, the district was awarded a $30,000 grant from Liberty Bank this morning. This grant will cover 3 years of a summer school program focused on early literacy for 4-year-olds and entering kindergarten in the fall. Mayor Leary, Chief Academic Officer Schwartz, and Mr. Miranda and I received this check this morning, and it was a great event, and we truly appreciate Liberty Bank and the generosity. The summer food program, for students begins June 21st and ends August 16th. For a list of sites, days, and times, please refer to the district website or call information at 211. Final announcements, and I will have final announcement, Madam President, at the end of the meeting this evening. But just one more quick announcement. The Waterbury Arts Magnet School is offering Encore Summer Arts Program from June 20th to July 1st, Monday through Friday from 8 to 12 noon. The cost is $125 is open to the 6th and 12th grade students from Waterbury and the greater Waterbury area. Registration forms are available in the main office and online. Thank you, Madam President. I'll entertain any questions the board may have at this time.
Thank you. I just have a couple of comments. I just want to give a shout out to the thespians in our high schools who won the Halo Awards. We had Best Props Design and or Management, Kennedy Sacred Heart High Schools, Jenna Bakandini, Newe San, and Brooke Radosky for Anything Goes. Then we had Best Dancing, Whams for the Grand Hotel. And then we had Best Performance by a Leading Actor in a Contemporary Play, Whams, Chris Briney as Lenny Gantz in Rumors. So congratulations to our fine actors and performers. I just want again to express my appreciation for the staff, the principals, and the faculty of all of our high schools. Many of us attended various graduations, and it was very moving, outstanding students, and we're very proud of them. We had 6 high school graduations as well as our adult education, and I think as a Board of Education, I can speak for us saying we're very proud of all the graduates, and thank you to everyone who really supports our students. So thank you very much. Okay, I'd like to move to the consent calendar. Would anybody like anything removed from the consent calendar?
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez.
8.5.
8.5, okay. Any others? Commissioner Theriault.
8.2, please.
8.2. Okay. Okay. So the consent calendar is as follows. 8.1, request approval to participate in the Healthy Food Certification Program. Request approval to apply for the CSDE Primary Mental Health Program 2016-2017, continuation at Duggan and Wendell Cross Schools. Request approval of Amendment Number 1 to the Professional Services Agreement with Stanley Convergent Security System, Inc. for monitoring and servicing of security systems at various schools. 8.6, request permission be granted to Dr. Tucker and 2 chaperones to take 7 students from Crosby High School, Kennedy High School, and Waterbury Career Academy to Hampton, Virginia from June 26th through July 2nd to attend Young Diplomat Summer Program at Hampton University. 8.7, request permission be granted to LTC Jeffrey Adams, Crosby High School, ROTC, and 3 chaperones to take 30 students to Devens, Massachusetts from June 20th through the 26th to attend summer camp at Fort Devens. Use of school facilities by school organizations and or city departments, use of school facilities by outside organizations and or waiver requests. Could I have a motion?
Motion to approve the consent calendar items 8.1, 8.3, 8.4, and 8.6 through 8.9.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Committee on Finance will deal with the items removed from the consent calendar. Committee on Finance, 8.2.
With the approval of the Committee on Finance, the Superintendent of Schools recommends approval of Amendment Number 1 to the Other Professional Services Agreement with Innovative Education Program, quote, IEP LLC, to provide educational turnaround partner services for Walsh School funded by Walsh Schools Commissioners Network Turnaround Funds. Respectfully submitted, Dr. Kathleen M. Willett.
Second.
Discussion. Commissioner Theriault.
First, I would like to preface my remarks by saying I had worked at Walsh School on one of the reading programs when I had a hiatus from the board. And I got to know the kids at Walsh. I got to know the staff and the administration of Walsh. And what a fine group of kids. What an absolutely astounding staff, administration, unbelievable. Your perception of what you think is happening at Walsh and what actually is happening at Walsh are two completely
different things. You know, the old cliche is, you don't judge the book by the cover. But so many of us have a tendency to do that because of innuendo or vendetta, as someone said earlier, a speaker. But these kids do an absolutely phenomenal job, and so do the teachers. But I'm going to be voting no against this particular thing because this program is in its third year. And the scores, I didn't have the scores the last time for Walsh. And I blame this program for not delivering. We're going to spend $199,000 or so on just this program for turnaround, just at Walsh. We've spent large amounts of money also at Crosby. Now the score at Walsh in math is 3.2%. That means 97% of the kids didn't reach the grade level objectives. Not for lack of effort, maybe the wrong program, maybe the wrong delivery. Their score in literacy was 8.1. The passing score in the state was 55.4. So Walsh got an 8.1. Oh, by the way, the passing score in the state was 39.1 on the Smarter Balance test. Walsh got a 3.2. The passing score on the CMT portion of the science portion of the test, passing portion, was 79.2. Walsh got a 41.9. Walsh has continued to be one of the lowest performing schools in the city and the state for the past 10 years. And I claim it's the wrong program. I claim that these scores should be significantly better than they are. So I'm not going to go with a program that is failing. And I don't think the kids at Walsh are failing. And I agree with others of my critics that say this is only one portion of a test of measuring education. Because if I were giving the kids a report card over at Walsh and the staff and the administration, I'd give them an A+. Because that's the kind of kids that you have there. But I'm very, very disappointed with the results, with the not even going in a positive direction with regard to the increase in scores, going in a negative direction. And I know the Smarter Balance test isn't the best test. And I know maybe Mr. Paul White said, you know, we're reaching some of the benchmarks that have been established, and I applaud that. But when I see these scores come in so abominable, I think it's kind of like putting a round peg in a square hole, or vice versa. And I'm just very disappointed that we continue to throw money into the programs and we don't see results. So I'll be voting against this, as I said, and I want to reiterate again, tremendous effort, tremendous school, tremendous staff, tremendous kids. And I saw those kids at the end of the school day going to PAL every day. They loved going to PAL, and it was a great opportunity to kind of look at the kids that were kind of falling through the cracks and give them some additional tutoring. So I thank PAL and the community for what they did for the kids as well. But I think we need to come up with a better solution to the problem at Walsh than just doing the same thing over and over again and expecting to get better results. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll call.
Commissioner Harvey?
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Pagano?
Yes.
Vice President Rodriguez?
Yes.
Commissioner Stango?
Yes.
Commissioner Sweeney?
Yes.
Commissioner Theriault?
No.
Commissioner Jason Vanstone?
Yes.
Commissioner Tom Vanstone?
Yes.
President Brown?
Yes.
9-1.
Motion passes. Thank you. Committee on School Personnel, 8.5.
Thank you, Madam President. Ladies and gentlemen, with the approval of the Committee on School Personnel, the Superintendent of Schools recommends the approval of the job specifications for the position of high school department head as attached. So respectfully submitted and so moved.
Second.
Discussion. Yes, Commissioner Hernandez.
First, I'd like to start off by saying I did not get to hear this particular item last week because I was attending adult ed's graduation, and I did have some questions on it, so I'd like to ask those questions, and if someone is here that could answer them, I'd greatly appreciate that. My first question is, why the change? Did something happen where all of a sudden now there's going to be a change?
There was never an original job description, and so there was some ambiguity with regards to responsibilities, and it was time and working with the WTA to put forth a job description to outline those duties.
Okay, my next question is, which Kevin Egan kind of touched on, why are we doing a one-year renewal contract for this particular position? Do other administrations, like basketball coach, football coach, or whoever, have a one-year contract?
I would have to look into from personnel, but it can be annual appointments. I have seen them where there have been in other school systems, but this is what was decided between working with the chief academic officer and with the WTA. I mean, at this point, it's there, but certainly we've heard Mr. Egan's comments tonight, but that was what was recommended from the administration.
Okay, my next question, I apologize. If the goal is to improve teaching and learning, what will this particular new position do as far as a one-year contract? Because I kind of agree with him a little bit that if someone doesn't like you, there's a possibility that you may be scrutinized against, which I'm hoping that does not happen. And how would that affect the bumping process, say if someone from Kennedy put in for the position and they received it over the chair that's there right now? Is there like a...
That's an annual appointment, which means that the principal and perhaps committee members would interview the candidates for the position. That's the way... There wouldn't be any bumping. It would be an annual appointment, the way it's currently reading at this point in time.
What was it before? You could stay in that position as long as you were there, correct? So there was never any evaluation done on the department heads?
Correct, because there was really no job description.
Because there was no job description. Okay, so if we're going to do that with this new job description, if you're a teacher, there's an evaluation process, correct?
Yes.
Could this department head, or why hasn't the department head been able to go through an evaluation process like that of the teacher?
Because there was no job description.
Because of the job description,
there was nothing to outline the
ever.
duties. They were not consistent within the high schools.
Okay. My last question is, to get an 092, you have to do 4 years, correct? It's a 4-year...
Not necessarily. That's a certification that can happen within 18 months.
It's a certification that can happen in 18 months?
It could.
Not 4 years?
Depends how ambitious you are in taking coursework.
Okay. So why does number 4, what does number 4 mean in the job description?
Mr. Schwartz, you want to help me with that? I don't have it right at my fingertips.
Number 4, that reads such alternatives to the above qualifications.
Yes.
And I think that if there's similar experiences to possibly teaching 105 or 092 are mandated. Those are mandated. You have to have that. You have to be a WTA member.
Right.
Minimum of 3 years teaching experience. You really can't have a 105 or 092 unless you have 3 years of teaching experience. And so I don't know what other alternative qualifications that actually could be there. And so that could be something that we would look into, unless Attorney Shaw, you have anything to add to that? No.
That was my point. What other alternatives would we have if we're requesting 052 and 092?
105 and
105
or 092.
Okay. So, and it said something about the board. Read down, number 4. Did you read number 4? Read it again.
The one I just read?
Mm-hmm.
Such alternatives to the above qualifications as the board may find appropriate and acceptable.
Right. So, do we have any other such, what would we find appropriate in that case?
I'm not the board, I don't know.
What would we find appropriate in that case? Can somebody tell me?
I think that would be subject to the individual that comes before us. I think my understanding is that in developing the job description, that they try to be open to somebody's experience. So it would not to really, to allow all candidates to have an opportunity.
And we're asking that this person only has 3 years?
That's what it says, yeah.
Why not 4? Can we go for 4?
The board can do whatever they
I know we can,
Right.
but I'm asking.
I suppose we could have said 6, 10, whatever, but this is what's before us tonight.
There is an example where number 4 would come into play if there is a department that has no WTA member that has a 105 or 092. It would be at the discretion of the qualifications of the candidates to still have a department head, possibly for that department. So there could be a possibility where there is a department where somebody does not have a 105 or 092, and there would have to be a decision made if that department, if there's a qualified candidate within that department that could still lead it, possibly without that. And if not, then they have no department head at all.
But we are requesting an 092, correct?
I don't have it in front of me.
The recommendation is a 105 or 092.
105 or 092. So if that's something that we're requesting, then number 4 really should not ever come into play.
Unless there's a department that has teachers that have neither a 105 or 092. Which maybe it could be clearer on the qualifications if that was the case.
I think maybe it should be clearer. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you. Any other comments? Commissioner Theriault?
Yeah, I was kind of stuck in cement on this. I thought I really knew how I was going to vote. But Mr. Egan's comments and Juanita's comments have also kind of shaken one foot loose here. Especially the fact that when I looked at the 1-year appointments, I thought that was a good idea. And jokingly, I said, you got to be on the good side of the boss, you know. But that was more a pun than an actuality. Naturally, we wouldn't want to have a person who was a department head be reappointed to department head if they didn't get a good evaluation. I think the certification, with regard to the certification requirements, is about 30 credits. So that's about 10 courses. So whatever way, maybe a little more than that. I'm talking about the 092.
You can receive an 092 with 18 credits, with the right credits, 6 courses.
6 courses?
Yes.
Okay. So that's pretty, well, I won't say it's easy. I did it, but I won't say it's easy, but it makes it a very effective way of learning administration and dealing with it. But these yearly appointments seem to be kind of arbitrary and capricious. They kind of do, in fact, kind of lean towards favoritism, nepotism, and cronyism, and all those other isms that our civil service system was created to eliminate. This isn't a civil service job, I know that. But, and I also appreciate the fact that we're going to do this during the summer when we could have done it and had it done by June, at least the application process and so forth, seems to be rushed through, as they say in French, tout de suite. You know, I've used this before, damn quick. I know that's not a swear word, right? But a little too quick for me, a little bit too, this one-year appointment has got me thinking that maybe this isn't, you know, if you had, you got your swim coach, your basketball coach, all your other coaches, they're there, and we renew them every year. I mean, unless there's a big problem with the coaches and so forth, but they can pretty much lose every game, and we're going to reappoint them anyway, so there's not a real criteria in terms of the win-loss on the games on the athletic fields. But it's the way they treat the kids and suggest to the kids that part of the experience is playing the game, not always losing. So I can appreciate Mr. Egan's comments as president of the WTA. I can appreciate Commissioner Hernandez's comments either. So I did shake one foot loose, and I'm in a conundrum at this point, but I'm sure by the time the vote comes, I'll vote appropriately. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Sweeney, sorry.
Just, you know, at this point in time, this is a class of employee that we don't have any job description for whatsoever. There's no uniformity across the district, and it is a job description. We have amended and changed jobs descriptions before. We really need to start somewhere. We need to get this going. Certainly we can stay on top of it. We can have personnel committee follow it and see how it goes, make sure that we're getting the value that we think we want from this, which is to have consistency across the district in these positions, and to make sure that for the employee themselves, for those people in these positions, that they're not asked to do things outside of a job description. So I really think that it's beyond time, and we really need to get this going. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner, can I have one question?
No, that's not appropriate, sorry. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Harvey?
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez?
No.
Commissioner Pagano?
Yes.
Vice President Rodriguez?
Yes.
Commissioner Stango?
Yes.
Commissioner Sweeney?
Yes.
Commissioner Theriault?
No.
Commissioner Jason Van Stone?
Yes. Commissioner
Tom Van Stone?
No.
President Brown?
Yes.
7-3, motion carries.
Thank you. Okay. Committee on Finance, Commissioner Pagano, item 10.
Ladies and gentlemen, with the approval of the Committee on Finance, the Superintendent of Schools recommends approval of the Department of Education's 2016/2017 operating budget totaling $174,053,685, $158,375,000 Board of Aldermen adopted appropriation, $11,501,340 in Alliance Year 5, $1,002,345 Alliance Year 4, 2015 through 2016 carryover, $1 million of 2015-2016 surplus, $1 million of 2014-15 surplus, $675,000 contingency surplus, and $500,000 city non-lapsing contingency. Respectfully submitted, Dr. Kathleen M. Willett.
Second.
Discussion. Commissioner Theriault.
First of all, I want to congratulate the superintendent and the personnel that worked on this budget. To say it was arduous is an understatement. It's amazing where some of this money came from. But once again, we have this Alliance grant, which I have said many times before, we use I don't want to just say indiscriminately, but discriminately, we have this discretion of using this $22.5 million, part of it the way that we want to, with discretion and permission. But you see, that $22.5 million was supposed to be used for reform. And then we wonder why we have schools like Walsh and other schools, Crosby, and our high schools are terrible with the test scores. They're just abysmal. And yet we take, I think last year it was over $14 million that we took out of this $22.5 million Alliance grant that was supposed to be used for reform. Now we have two categories. We have the reform side and the non-reform side. And the non-reform side goes into the budget to subsidize the budget, so the taxpayers don't have to be burdened with that additional $14.5 million responsibility. I agree with the mayor. You know, we really need to go after that $47 million that we're shorted on the ECS. And then we wouldn't have to be, and I hate to use the term pilfer, but that's really what we're doing. We're using $14.5 million of the non-reform side of the Alliance budget to subsidize, of the Alliance funds, to subsidize our budget. If we had that $47 million, we wouldn't have to do that. So maybe if we put some more of that money into the reform side, maybe then and got the proper programs, maybe then we would see an increase in the test scores. Maybe not. Maybe the way to solve this problem is not throwing money at it. But that's my major concern with regard to the budget. And there are three areas of the budget. This year's Alliance budget, last year's, and then another contingency fund that Alliance funds came from. I totaled them up. I think it's well over $16 million that we've cut from here. I don't know what the solution is as we go forward. I don't know how this Alliance money got approved, and it certainly had to be approved politically by the powers to be, whoever they are. And I'm sure we're utilizing that money as best we can. But I'm not in favor of taking money out of a reform Alliance budget that was intended to improve education and to put it into a budget to subsidize the budget. So that's the only reason I'm going to be voting against this budget, is because of that one thing. Because I just don't think it's fair. I don't think it's equitable. I don't think it's fair to the kids. This money was provided by probably the legislator to improve education. And now all of a sudden we're doing other things with it, in the righteous name of subsidizing and balancing our budget. So I'll be voting against this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Harvey?
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Pagano?
Yes.
Vice President Rodriguez?
Yes.
Commissioner Stango?
Yes.
Commissioner Sweeney?
Yes.
Commissioner Theriault?
No.
Commissioner Jason Van Stone?
Yes.
Excuse me?
Yes.
Commissioner Tom Van Stone?
No.
President Brown?
Yes.
8-2, motion passes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Commissioner Pagano. Item 10.2.
Ladies and gentlemen, with the approval of the Committee on Finance, the Superintendent of Schools recommends approval of the Fourth Amendment to the lease with the Police Athletic League of Waterbury Incorporated for the property known as 58 Grigg Street. Respectfully submitted, Dr. Kathleen M. Willett.
Second.
Discussion? Commissioner Stango.
Thank you, Madam President. Going back on this lease, as was mentioned earlier, it's 8 years old now. We've done it for 8 years on renewals. And the reason why we had to do the lease is because Enlightenment School downtown was going renovate as new. So we had to remove some of that program from the Enlightenment School while that was going on. So the issue was where to put them. And at that time, we thought the PAL building, St. Lucy's building, was a perfect fit. At that time, it was being shared somewhat with PAL programs after school. So when the renovation as new was completed at Enlightenment, we found that Enlightenment renovation took up more room because when you're renovating as new, you're making more spaces, which is may not normally be used as classroom for guidance offices or one-on-one instruction. So we found that we needed to leave those students someplace when Enlightenment was completed. So gradually we kept renewing the lease. From time to time, mention would be made, we need to find a home, we need to end the lease, but every year would come along, and because nothing else was in place, we need to renew the lease. So we are at the point now where we have been every time this issue came up, we still need to put the kids somewhere. We need to put the kids somewhere, and that somewhere is within the next 3 or 4 weeks when the lease expires. So we need to continue that lease for the time being. In my opinion, I think the 1-year lease is a good idea. However, within that 1 year, I think we need to continue to look at other options. And not just to say we're going to look at other options and then not look at other options. I think we need to have a report occasionally, at least once a month through building, so that we can see where we're going to go with it. We need to see what the options are being considered are. Then, by the time January comes along, we will kind of like know what we're going to do. Are we going to have other options, or are we going to find a new home, or are we going to keep renewing the lease, or are we going to buy the building? These are all options that we have to look at and consider. But we have this year now to really focus on it. Not just say we're going to focus on it, but focus on it. So I think it gives us that year to work with. Who knows where we'll be? Because we don't want to be in this place next year in June to decide if we're going to extend the lease again. Unless that's our plan. And we will know the plan when we discuss it ongoing between now and January. If in January we have another plan, it gives us January, February, March, April, May to formalize that plan, dedicate a new space or keep the old space. At least we'll know where we're going. So we can vote on this lease earlier to renew or not to renew. We may not even need it, but we won't know until we study it further. So I think that that's where I'm coming from. I think I am going to vote to extend that lease 1 year with the caveat that we will continue to look at it this year as a very strong focus this year coming, starting now. So that's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Commissioner Pagano.
This first year as a newbie, I've been sort of internally challenged. I serve on a host of other boards, about 4 of them right now. And we're all focused on one thing, the overall direction and strategy of the business. I want to amplify what Commissioner Stango just said about the strategy. Because up to this point, we're just putting out fires. We don't have an end game strategy for where we really want to go to. And I think sometimes we get focused on the mechanics of what we want to talk about as a board, instead of looking and taking a step back and strategizing where we want to go. So I'm going to be supporting the renewal of this lease, but along with Commissioner Stango's perspective, holding the administration's tail to the fire on giving a strategy of what they want to do longer term. That's all.
Thank you. Any other comments? Commissioner Theriault.
I would almost be in favor of extending the lease if we could put 150 kids in the program. and get some of those kids out of some of the schools where they have become recalcitrant, troublesome students. But we seem to be dragging our heels, putting them in the program. I wonder, by putting into the program and putting 65 kids in there, 55 kids that attend, before it was 55, and 46 attended on a daily basis. But I want to bring you back to the point when we renovated the Enlightenment School in the first place. The plan was, and regardless of whether we have selective amnesia or not, the plan was to take one of the programs out, State Street, move it to St. Lucy's or PAL, and by the way, no disrespect or vendetta to PAL. PAL is a great, great program nationwide, and hats off to the mayor and the people that work there and provide a great program for our students and our athletes throughout the city. No vendetta. I'm just looking at it in terms of dollars and cents. So those kids were supposed to go over there for swing space. And once the swing space in the building was renovated, then those kids over at the other program were to move to the renovated portion. And then they were actually turn them around, put that program in and put the other program out. But it seemed more convenient to leave them where they were. Then all of a sudden, there's no moving them back. And then all of a sudden well, we didn't intend to move them back. Now the focus has changed. What focus has changed? I did some research on the enrollment there, and we got about 156 kids in the Enlightenment program, and only about 105 attend there. So we're down about 50. I mean, we couldn't take the 55 kids from the Enlightenment school. I mean, the school could accommodate, I would say, close to 200. I mean, it's a great school. They renovated it. They did it right. But when you put the kids into a program, is that really, and you isolate them and you build walls, are you really putting them in the least restrictive environment? I always thought all along when I was a board member that these kids were going to come back into the fold, into the Enlightenment State Street program. We had a building right on the side there that we just took that was a Spanish Action Council Cultural Center, and we recently refurbished that into a special ed resource recruitment center. It's not exactly the term, but you get the drift. We couldn't use the available space at the Enlightenment program and the other classrooms in that area to accommodate the kids back into the program. When we look at the cost of the lease, the cost of the utilities, the cost of the 2 custodians, the cost of their medical benefits, the cost of maintenance and renewal of other things, snow removal and other things, that lease is closer to $300,000. It may be a real bargain for the money, but if you just do the math in terms of 55 kids, that's closer to $5,500 per kid, way above $3,000. And I can appreciate the mission of what PAL does, and I respect that sincerely. But in terms of dollars and cents, for 55 kids, I actually calculated recently the availability of space throughout the school system, and it's more like 1,200 available seats from 2001. And granted, some of our schools were overcrowded in 2001, and I'll give you that. But by the time we're done with our middle schools, getting into this Wendell Cross thing, we're going to have space available for nearly 1,000 kids. I've seen alternative programs put in the same high school with the other kids. Not walled off. I don't think they need to be walled off or put in a jail-like environment. There's some great kids that come out of that program. And I was the principal of the Alternative Enlightenment School for 3 years, so I know firsthand and very well the quality of the instruction and the quality of the mission that is accomplished for those kids. And as one of our speakers says, you don't know. I'm the custodian there. I know how they change. Okay, I'll give you that. But I was the principal there. I was instrumental in the change with my staff. So that's where I'm coming from in terms of the dollars and cents, in terms of the history. And one person in administration told me, well, you know, Commissioner, we have changed our focus. We have changed our focus. We're not going to, I know what we said we were going to do, but now we've changed our focus. Our focus is to put the State Street School in a different location. I'd like to see, as Commissioner Stengel said, could the program, the Enlightenment School, accommodate 50 to 55 kids? I mean, if the, God forbid, if the school burned down tomorrow, could we accommodate them there? I'll bet we could. So, you know, I mean, there's a lot of trepidation here about going forward, whether they're going to buy the building, whether they're going to lease the building. We seem to be dragging our heels as we go forward. So, vote your conscience. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments? Commissioner Hernandez.
I have to agree with Commissioner Pagano and Commissioner Stengel. My only question is, are we going to actively look for other sites?
My understanding at the workshop is that they've already convened a work group and that they are looking at appropriate options, keeping in mind that these are special needs children who have individual IEPs, and it's a program. It's not just about space in that sense, and they have to look at the cost benefit of appropriate space within district, or if not at State Street, would the cost of sending them out of district would be about $2.2 million for these particular students. So I think we have to look at the cost, but form follows function, and there's space issues, but there's also space needed for specific programs. So there's a lot to take into consideration, but a work group has been formed, and we are looking very seriously as a district. So. Any other? Commissioner Harvey.
I am of the thinking of Commissioner Theriault. I remember that the plan was to move the students out of State Street but move them back. Now, when that changed, I'm not sure about that. I've been a little squeamish about that as well. There's some things I'm going back and forth with. One of them is your point, Commissioner Theriault, and the other one is we say we have to take time, and we have to. I mean, we've kicked this can down the road. I've been on this board for 11 years. We kicked this can down the road a lot of years. If we were going to do something, it seems to me that this would be the perfect time to do it. State Street moves back to State Street. That seems logical to me. You say that we formulated a committee. Who is that committee?
This is an internal staff committee that we're looking at all the facility usage, that the study that was just completed, we're analyzing that. So it's the expertise professionals that are meeting.
Who is that, though?
That would be myself.
Because we lost some expertise, so I'm just wondering who that is.
Mr. Brenker is spearheading at this point in time with the special education department, the principals, and supportive staff as well.
All right. What are we looking at? Are we looking at space at State Street? What exactly
All
are we looking
options,
at?
all options within the district, school district.
And we believe that it'll take a year to do that.
I believe so, yes. To fully implement, Commissioner, absolutely. By the time we exhaust all possibilities, we should be ready to have a very rich discussion in about December and then plan forward as Commissioner Stango has outlined very nicely this evening.
Okay. How many students are we talking about moving?
I would have to, I don't want to, at least 60 to 70 from State Street.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Hernandez. You said we're looking at all possibilities. Are we also looking at maybe redistricting as a possibility?
I'm sorry?
Redistricting?
At this point in time, that would not be in the equation. That would be a very, very, very large project, depending on what we're looking at for Wendell Cross. Redistricting or looking at that would probably be at a better time frame than for State Street or Enlightenment. But that's certainly on the horizon, Commissioner.
Commissioner Theriault.
Yeah, the actual enrollment, the last time I checked with the clerk of the board, was 65. Okay. Prior to that, it was 55 consistently, and the average daily attendance on the enrollment of 55 was 46 students, and I think the enrollment on the 65 is about 55, 56 average daily attendance.
Thank you. Mayor O'Neill.
I just wanted to take a moment to reflect back on how the city got involved with the PAL lease, because at the time I was the police chief and the president of PAL, and I just wanted to reiterate, take a few moments of your time to reiterate what is happening, what has happened there, and what is happening today, and I want to close up with, I think, agreeing with Commissioner Stango and Commissioner Pagano and their remarks. When I was the police chief and the president of PAL in 2008, PAL did not approach the city and ask the city to rent the space. The city came to me and begged us for the space. That's the way it happened. And the reason why is that they were behind schedule on the Enlightenment School and whatever project they were renovating, and they asked us if we could find a way to put these children in this building. PAL, at the time, quite honestly, was using the school for after-school learning and mentoring programs, all paid for by PAL. And you know, listen, as the police chief spoke earlier, it was a bailing the city out of a crisis, which we were happy to do, but it was also beneficial to PAL, let's make no mistake about it. And it gave PAL an opportunity to collect an unforeseen revenue source, which of course, I hope you are all aware by now. I was unable to attend your workshop at PAL, but let me make sure that you are aware, every single penny that you pay in that PAL lease goes directly to PAL programs. No administrative fees, directly to PAL programs. PAL services over 4,400 children each year. PAL provides services that PAL pays for. I'll give you some examples. Homework Haven. PAL picks kids up from schools. You heard Commissioner Theriault talk about the Walsh kids going to PAL. And they go to PAL for Homework Haven. PAL pays. PAL pays for the transportation, pays for the buses, pays for the insurance, pays for the food, pays for the instructors. Athletic programs. Right now, they're just finishing up baseball. 700 boys in this city play baseball for PAL. 300 girls play softball for PAL. PAL pays. Pays for everything. Now, while that's not a direct benefit, I guess, of the district, 99.9% of those students are students in this district. 99.9% of those students are on free and reduced lunch. 99% of those students are minorities. And it gives them an opportunity to be on a ball field, whether it's baseball, whether it's basketball, whether it's wrestling, whether it's boxing, whether it's learning how to swim. It goes on and on and on. PAL pays. Nutrition programs. Every Wednesday, students participate in the nutrition programs at PAL. In our kitchen, the kids learn how to eat responsibly. The chef from La Tavola, Mr. Mancini, comes every Wednesday, and he teaches your kids, your students, our PAL kids, how to eat responsibly and how to cook and how to go home and grow vegetables and teach their siblings, and possibly in some cases maybe their parents, healthy lifestyles and healthy eating. PAL has incredible health awareness programs, whether it's from teenage pregnancy issues to substance abuse issues to behavioral health issues. PAL offers curriculum and programs in all these areas. PAL pays for all of it. At the end of the day, every week, every single week, a teacher or a principal will call PAL and ask for a bus. Why do they call PAL? Because it's free. PAL pays. We have 4 buses up there and we have 3 vans. We need that many vehicles to service your students. Why do they call PAL and not Durham? Because there's no money. Because every time you use a Durham bus, it costs upwards of $250 to $350. PAL pays. Whether we take your students to a park, to a career day, to a field day, to a museum in Hartford, to a ball game in Bridgeport or New Britain, PAL pays. We don't need 7 vehicles for transportation for our kids. We have those vehicles. We pay for the maintenance. We pay for the insurance, we meaning PAL. We pay more insurance because we transport students for the city. If we were just to transport students for our programs, our insurance would be half. But we provide the service because the teachers and the parents and the administrators recognize that these children would never be given an opportunity to travel to these places if the district had to pay. And let me remind you that the city of Waterbury just experienced a $1.3 million cut from the state of Connecticut in transportation. So if we think we were on the road a lot this year, I'll bet we'll be on the road a lot more next year. So look, I'm not here to be argumentative. I'm not here to be critical. I want to take the road that Chief Riddick took because it's the right road. But I really think from time to time, we really forget what PAL is all about. And I want to make sure that you understand, I won't dispute Commissioner Theriault's cost assessment. I really won't. But when you look at all the things that they do at PAL, which is 7 days a week, which is incredible, incredible programs that have provided opportunities for kids they would never have. It's amazing. Right now, there are 4 kids from your district who left 8th grade and went to Taft School with a full scholarship. How do they get there? PAL. PAL picks them up in the morning, picks them up in the evening. 4 kids right now in Taft School. One child, already graduated, and she's off to college. So, you know, for all this discussion, I think it's only fair. I will tell you that the PAL Board of Directors is made up of some phenomenal people, most of which are not police officers. We designed it that way on purpose because police officers are not good at running businesses. We're not trained. We don't have that expertise. So we have people on the PAL board who will run businesses. Jonathan Albert Brothers, Peter Baker, Crystal Rock, Steve Castaldi, McDermott Corporation. And it works. But understand that the money from the lease goes directly to these programs that I've described. We run a summer school employment program. We employ about 500 of your kids every summer. PAL pays. You don't pay. District doesn't pay. The district does not pay. PAL pays, and some federal funds are leveraged. Why? How do we qualify for the federal funds? Because PAL pays. Simply. If PAL didn't pay, the federal funds wouldn't come. 500 students working in the summer. Where would they be without these programs? Those kids, what are their jobs? Some are on the landscaping crew. What does the landscaping crew do? They go out and cut grass. Whose grass do they cut? Elderly. Any elderly person who calls PAL and says, I can't cut my grass anymore, and I can't afford to pay somebody to cut my grass. Guess who cuts their grass? PAL. PAL Park Corps. 20 kids are in the city parks all summer long, working on the improvement and the quality of life issues in the PAL Park. PAL Park Corps is funded by PAL. Not entirely, but about 75% funded by PAL. So I really think it's important. You know, we talk about investment. Tonight I heard discussion about a $199,000 contract on a program for Wall School, and the school board voted 9-1 to extend the contract. I don't know enough about it to say something in support of it or not. But I will tell you that, to Commissioner Theriault's comments, $199,000 on a program that we're not sure, or maybe he's the only one that's not sure because all of you voted for it, seems like a lot of money, doesn't it? So even if Commissioner Theriault's comments are right about the cost of the lease being $300,000, think about this just for a second. Look at the return on the investment of $300,000. Let's be serious about this. And let me tell you that PAL's budget is $1.4 million a year. When I started PAL, it was less than half of that. Why has it grown so much? Because it costs money to run the programs I just described. We pay, but we go out and fundraise. We go out and apply for grants. We're very good at it. Do you know why? Because we're a very good program. We're a 10-year program. Our funders are very comfortable in funding our programs because we take care of our most challenged children, our most challenged kids. We are not employing in our summer school program children from middle class or upper class families. We don't do that because their challenges are different and far much less than our impoverished families. We employ poor kids so that they have opportunities. In the winter, we put together a shovel brigade. Every winter, we have kids who respond to your house if you're elderly and you can't shovel your driveway, and we shovel your driveway and your sidewalks for free. Who pays? PAL pays. So I think the big picture needs to be seen here, okay? And, you know, am I passionate about it? Of course I am. And it's not because I started the program, because quite frankly, I don't have anything, believe it or not, I honestly have very little to do with the programs today. And the reason why is because I'm the mayor now. So I don't want there ever to be seen a conflict of interest. But do I believe in the program? You bet I do. This PAL program has gotten 4 national awards. 4. The president of National PAL was here 2 days ago and spoke in front of nearly 300 people and said the Waterbury PAL program is amongst the best he's ever seen. He's been the PAL president 10 years. He's been on the PAL board 23 years, the National PAL board. So I think you need to look at the return on the investment here. Is it perfect? No. But to Commissioner, I'll close by talking about Commissioner Pagano's remarks and Commissioner Stango. I sat where you were when this PAL lease came up. I abstained every time. Once again, we're here in June and we're having this discussion. But once again, there's no plan. There's no strategy. There's, I've heard the conversations. This year, we're going to look at opportunities and we're going to look at alternatives. Somehow life goes by. The district is so entirely busy with other issues that before you know it, we're back here in June again. Now, as a board, if you don't want to renew the lease, then that is your option. But think about the consequences that you're going to have on these programs I just talked about by telling PAL, we're done. With what? 2 weeks notice? Is that fair? Is that fair to PAL? Is it fair to the kids? I don't think so. Now, if you want to say, renew the lease for a year, but we're not going to come back, that's your option. That's okay. That's okay. It's a great piece of real estate. There's probably other people that may or may not be interested, but it'll give PAL an opportunity to recognize that we've got to know that this is it. This is it. And by the way, I wasn't going to say this, but there's a lot of good members of that PAL Board of Directors that are very disappointed in this board, only because it seems like PAL's the bad guy. PAL's not the bad guy here. We have not strategized for an alternative plan. PAL continues to do what PAL does 365 days a year. And PAL pays. They pay. So you can do what you want here tonight. We'll survive if you decide not to renew the lease. I think it would be a grave injustice to the children, to the parents who enjoy these programs, the opportunities that their children are getting, and the schools that they're going to, and the job opportunities that they're receiving each and every summer and each and every winter that are costing you zero. The experiences of a lifetime for these children, to be in a structured environment, to know that if things are going not so good at home, I can walk down to PAL or walk to PAL and know that's a safe haven for me. And I'm going to eat and I'm going to be comfortable and safe. And that's what happens all the time. When kids knock on that door, there's always somebody there for them. Every week, the PAL van goes to Bizzuto's in Cheshire and gets filled up with free food. Every month, the PAL vans go to ShopRite and get filled up with free food. Our kids eat, they learn how to cook, they learn manners and politeness and life skills. That's what PAL is all about. So I think it's time that we strategize, think about business. If you tell the PAL program, this is it, we don't need your space anymore, that's fine. That's fine. But don't do it with giving them 2 weeks notice. You earnestly do your due diligence, come back with your recommendations in December or January, whenever you do, and you tell PAL, this is it, get ready, you're going to lose this revenue stream. Then PAL can do a couple things, right? Strategy and business sense. They can go out and look for other tenants for the building to replace the revenue source. Quite frankly, honestly, they're not going to have a big problem doing that. At the end of the day, it's right. It's right for the kids, it's right for the parents, it's right for all the people who rely on PAL every single day. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Commissioner Stango, through the chair.
Thank you. Just for clarity, Mayor, because people watch this and people read about it, I want to make it clear that when you talk about all the programs that PAL does and partakes in, and with the kids and the kitchen and the food, it's not in the PAL St. Lucy's building. That takes place in the other community center.
When we first started, thank you for the question. When we first started PAL, we were doing those programs out of the PAL school. When the city came to us and asked us, and begging is probably not the right verbiage, although it was close to that, asked us for the school, we moved all those programs over to the field house. And we invested heavily into the kitchen in the field house so that the field house kitchen would be up to code like the kitchen was in the school, which we invested heavily in that. You know, to keep a kitchen up to code is extraordinarily expensive. You know, the upfront cost is very, very high. So we did that. We paid to upgrade the kitchen in the field house so that the school could use the cafeteria as needed, of course, during the day.
Yes, I just wanted to make that point because I don't want to say, well, city is leasing PAL building, but PAL is using all that property, and they're not.
No, and the other thing, that's a really good point. I didn't think of it until you just mentioned it. We do a lot of movies, especially in the summertime, to keep kids busy, particularly on Friday nights. We use the school auditorium, and we run movie night. And of course, our PAL kids cook for everybody who comes to the movies. Some nights you'll have 350 kids there on a Friday night to watch movies. And, you know, again, whatever those costs are associated with that, again, PAL pays.
Okay,
Thank you.
you.
Thank you. Commissioner Van Stone.
No questions. I have my own comment. If I may.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam President. I have been so mischaracterized through this whole process. I never stop 12 months a year asking why we don't negotiate our contracts. I don't wait for the budget process.
Excuse me, sir. I didn't mischaracterize you
Others
in any way, shape, or form.
I'm not speaking to you, and I'm not replying to your
but you're looking at me, so I want to make sure.
I have to look somewhere.
Okay.
Our own president of this board accused me of thinking these students were widgets. I wasn't going to speak tonight. However, I feel I need clarification. I not only reached out to members of this board before the budget process started to say renegotiate contracts. I reached out to individuals to have this conversation to say, I just want an opportunity to relook at the contract. I didn't have any day on this board where I said anything about what PAL does for this city. And I made that clear to anyone I talked to on this board and anyone I talked to as an individual. I think it is extremely unfair that we sign contracts that we don't have an opportunity to review word by word. We get in an offer and we sign on the dotted line. And I just think we need the opportunity to work with the city and their purchasing department to reevaluate what's in these contracts. That's what I asked for. That's all I asked for. I told many people that if I could see everything around and be comfortable with how the contract read, I would actually be in favor of signing it. I told many people that. Many people. That opportunity never came to me. And I am not a May and June person that stands here and says we need to look at these things. I've been a proponent that our bidding and contracting is, I think I actually used the term, gun to our head, which is really, you got to admit, is where we're at now. It's gun to our head because of the way we process. And I've been saying it since I've been on this board that you cannot start doing this at the time we're going to look at a budget. This needs to be done. I've actually said to some folks in central office that 12 months is not long enough to review contracts that will go in next year's budget. There's just not enough time. That has been my approach this entire budget season. I said that very clear at the start of budget, that I just want an opportunity to review contracts and make sure we are signing up to what's in our best interest. And I'm not saying any contract is in our best interest. I just wanted the opportunity. All right, so I haven't appreciated, and again, I wasn't even going to talk tonight, the characterization that has been placed on me and accusations in some cases that have been placed on me. I looked at this as an opportunity to review a contract, maybe cross out some lines, and determine what is in our best interest. I believe that's what I was asked to do when elected to this board. So if I'm doing something that's wrong, okay, criticize me. But in this case, I don't believe I am. Thank you.
Can I respond just for a second to that? Yes. Through the chair? As you know, Commissioner Van Stone, being a public official in 2016 is not very easy. People stand here at the microphone and they say all kinds of things. Some of them are true and a lot of them are very false. I think that, since you brought it up and I wasn't going to, what was discussed at the PAL Board of Directors meeting, and if the quote was not accurate, I've been misquoted too, but if the quote in the paper was not accurate, that's okay. But somewhere in discussion in a recently published newspaper article, I think which was yesterday, there was some interpretation from members of the PAL Board of Directors that you thought that the price per square foot was way out of whack for what the building was worth. And that really struck a raw nerve to the people at PAL. And I'll tell you why. When we bought that property was in dire condition. The school, it had been shuttered for a couple of years. It had been flooded. There was mold, there was this, there was that. Every single member of PAL, the Board of Directors, many dozens and dozens of school teachers and police officers spent 9 months after work, every weekend, working in that building and bringing that building to a condition where it was inhabitable, and then investing incredible dollars into that building to make it what many of our public school buildings are not, and that is completely ADA compliant. We have an elevator in PAL. You don't have an elevator in a lot of your schools here. We have ADA compliant bathrooms in PAL. You don't have ADA compliant bathrooms in a lot of your buildings. They take great pride in their real estate because they painted, they scrubbed, they worked, and they did it. And it was a great story then, and it's a great story today. The square foot price that was negotiated was the price that the city of Waterbury came to me and said, this is what we want to pay. Do you know what we did? We reduced it. We reduced it. And if you don't believe me, call Paul Guidon and ask him. We reduced the price per square foot that the city of Waterbury offered to pay us because we wanted to show the city that we are a partner. And that's what happened. And I was there, so I can speak to it clearly. So I don't know if there was a misinterpretation. I certainly will tell you that in the heat of the moment, I may have said a few things in my time that I wish I hadn't said, and the newspaper somehow always finds that right moment. And I'm not being critical because I actually believe that the education reporter is probably amongst the finest on the staff at the Rep Am, but that was the interpretation from PAL members, police officers, PAL Board of Directors, and mine, honestly. Because that's what it said. At least that's how it read.
May I reply, please?
Commissioner Van Stone.
There was a lot of passion in that meeting that night. I don't regret anything I said. But if I do not have an opportunity to revisit a contract, revisit a property, we have no way of knowing if what you're saying about square footage or what I'm saying about square footage is actually correct. So if I was just granted the opportunity, like I had mentioned to a number of people, again, face to face, as well as in public, an opportunity to review the contract, validate the contract, instead of just renewing, all this would have been flushed out a long time ago, and my passion that it was exposed the last couple of weeks never happens. Never happens.
Through the chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
I won't carry this on any further, but I will tell you that if you want to sit down with our corporation counsel will be happy to sit down with you and go over every word in every sentence, in every paragraph, in every page of that lease, anytime you want.
Final comment, please.
Commissioner Vanstone.
Not directly me, but speaking in public for this board and with this board, I should say with this board, I have made that request for 3 years that we evaluate these contracts. I will not call the corporate counsel and ask for an independent meeting when something concerns what the board votes on. I've made that request for 3 years that we do that evaluation, both with purchasing and anyone else who needs to be involved. That has never been granted, and I've been very public about that. So that's where my passion became what it was. This isn't the only contract I asked to review. I asked to review the contract we have with the professionals that we hire on the outside because we don't have enough on staff. I asked to review every single contract. I got 0 responses to any of my requests. And that's not your office, that's not City Hall, that's within education.
Right.
So I have made those requests. So if I, apparently it seems, until I had this passion the last couple weeks, my comments of the last 3 years apparently have fallen on deaf ears because I've made these requests, and again, this is not the City Hall or the Mayor's office. I've made these requests for 3 years since I've been here, so.
Through the chair, one final response to that, because as the mayor, I believe I have the right to do that. So if I was asking for information for 3 years as an elected official and not getting the information that I wanted, then I think I would find a way to get it. One sure way to get it would be to go to the mayor's office. Another sure way to get it would be to go to the corporation counsel's office. Another sure way to get it would be to go to purchasing. So don't blame PAL for this.
I've never blamed PAL, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner Theriault.
No, I don't have any questions of the mayor.
Thank you.
In fact, I want to compliment him for his passion.
Thank you.
In his speech. I mean, can't fault a speech like that. The current lease that we have, in order to cancel it, how much time do we have to give PAL?
30 days?
The current one, not the one we're voting on now. The one, if we weren't to,
Mr. Brinker,
if
do you
we
have more
weren't to renew,
specific-
I thought
it was 30.
I thought that the last lease was 90 days, and we were talking about this lease being 30. So, I mean, so technically we can't even cancel the lease because it wouldn't be within the proper restrictions of the lease agreement, the previous lease agreement, correct?
Well, yes and no, Commissioner. There is, on the current lease, a 90-day notice to PAL. However, the lease ends June the 30th, the entire lease. So there is no 90 days. That's the end of the lease.
Well, that's true, but as Mayor O'Leary eloquently put, wouldn't it seem fair if we were not going to renew the lease, that we should have done it 3 months ago, approximately.
Yeah,
we should have stepped forward and said, hey, we're not going to renew this lease. I think we could move 55 kids over the summer, but I agree with Commissioner O'Leary and the status of the PAL program for what they did and they do. And I never, ever took umbrage with the PAL program and the fantastic job that they do throughout. Never. That never entered my mind when I looked at this statistically and financially. It was always the amount of kids we're serving, the numbers, and always stuck in the back of my mind was, regardless of who approached who for the lease, and you magnanimously granted us the privilege of using that facility. But that was supposed to be swing space. And, you know, Commissioner Harvey's right. That was supposed to be swing space. It was never supposed to be a permanent condition. But all of a sudden it has become a permanent condition. And whether I vote for or against this, it's certainly not ever going to be in my mind that I'm voting against any aspect of what PAL stands for or what PAL does. My initiative is looking at the dollars and the cents in terms of this program and looking at a place for this program. Certainly the place that it's at right now renders a good facility. But if we were going to cancel this lease, and the lease is up June 30th, I think it's inappropriate to cancel it at this point when we don't have a place to go, number one. We seem to be on the fast track with this, and had I known 90 days was required, I mean, we could do it now, and then PAL could say, you breached our contract, because you're really, regardless of whether you're doing it June 30th, you should have given us 30 days notice. I think we owe the program at least a 90-day notice for the previous contract. So as the previous contract goes forward, it would be a 30-day notice. So we could, if we decided, if we did this study, and by the first of the year, we could notify PAL in December, we found the solution to our problem, we're going to abide by the requirements of the lease, and we're going to give you a 30-day notice, which would be the current lease agreement, the lease we're talking about tonight, not the previous lease of 90 days. So just in terms of fairness, in terms of camaraderie, in terms of a respect for PAL, I think we ought to consider that. And, you know, play with 52 cards, not 50. And give them, and the mayor and the chief and the other people, the respect that they deserve through the PAL program. All these words about PAL, you know, I was almost cringing, saying I'd be a bad guy if I voted against this, because this would be a vote against PAL. And the people would look at me and say, you're against PAL because you voted against the lease. Not so, not so, not so. I'm here not just for PAL, I'm here for the people in the city of Waterbury and the amount of money that's costing us $300,000. And, you know, might be even a little bit more, but I'm not going to cringe when I vote. I'm going to vote appropriately because of the statements that were made here tonight and the passion that came forward, and a lot of the things that were said, absolutely true, you know. Almost seems like even if we move the program, we should put $100,000 in a line item and still give it to PAL for the resources that they do. Maybe that's the option. But PAL is an entity unto themselves. And as the mayor so eloquently put, they do the fundraising. They have the resources. They have the people. They run the program. They pay the bills. They supply tremendous support for the City of Waterbury school system. So you know, if we have a contract with them, let's abide by the terms of the contract. And I think to vote against this renewal right now would be, I was going to vote against it. But I think it would be unjust. I don't think it would be fair. And I think that as we go down the road, if we want to cancel this, and I would suggest that we give ourselves a deadline of December 1st, and then by January 1st, if we decide on December 1st, we found a place and we're gonna go elsewhere, we let them know the revenue stream is gone, and that we have found some places within our school system for these 65 enrolled students, of which 55 attend. So I'll vote appropriately. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Rodriguez.
Thank you, President Madam Brown. We're talking about $300,000. And I'm not saying it lightly as if that's not a lot of money. But in the scheme of things and what we're getting for, it's not a lot of money. I'll tell you, I've said this before. I work for the state of Connecticut Judicial Branch. I monitor juvenile residential programs that are $1.6 million, that are $1.5 million, that are $1.3 million. I oversee close to $14 million in programs. And each of those programs probably serve 8 kids for our female programs. They serve 6 kids, and they serve them only for a short period of time, which is 4 months for one program, 30 to 90 days for another program. We have a space here that serves 65 children, supposedly. You said 45 in terms of the attendance rate. They have a school, a safe space. In addition to that $300,000 that we're spending for these difficult, challenging kids to go to this particular school, for $300,000, we're getting the additional supplement for the 4,000 kids that are involved with PAL. And to me, I think is a smart investment, because what you're not thinking about, things you can't put a price on, things you can't quantify, is some of these kids, we're preventing them from entering the juvenile justice system. But oftentimes we don't see that. We want to be up here and say, yeah, it's $300,000. There's more to it than the space. There's more to the story than the data. There's kids' lives behind that. That impacts the kids, the most difficult kids, the most challenging kids from a very tough urban environment, and we're providing additional services in addition to a school setting with teachers, with a school resource officer. I struggle with that, and it's mind-boggling that we would even challenge or even think about that $300 is significantly a big deal. We're going to find a better space somewhere else that can also give us the other supplements that we get in addition to what we're currently getting. For me, I would say sign the dotted line. Where do I sign it? For how long can we take advantage of this? Because I believe in our kids, and I believe in giving our kids every opportunity to succeed, because in Waterbury there's not a lot. I'm done.
Thank you. Madam President and Madam Clerk, you could be the President. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Harvey?
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Pagano?
Yes.
Vice President Rodriguez?
Yes.
Commissioner Stango?
Yes.
Commissioner Sweeney?
Yes.
Commissioner Theriault?
Yes.
Commissioner Jason Van Stone?
No.
Commissioner Tom Van Stone?
No.
President Brown?
Yes.
8-2, motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, number 11, Vice President Rodriguez.
11.1.
Yes, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Committee on Grievances recommends WTA Grievance 15-16-13, heard by the committee on June 8, 2016, be upheld. Items 1, 2, and 3 under relief sought are denied. As to item 4, the district leadership is directed that complete language arts curriculum be submitted for the entire school year. Respectfully submitted.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 11.2,
Ladies and gentlemen, the Committee on Grievances recommends WTA Grievance 151614, heard by the committee on June 8, 2016, be denied. Respectfully submitted.
Second.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Superintendent's notification to the board. May I have a motion to approve the superintendent's notification to the board? Items 12.1 through 12.11.
Motion to approve superintendent's notification to the board, items 12.1 through 12.11.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Number 13, unfinished business of preceding meeting only. Okay. Number 14, other unfinished new and miscellaneous business. Commissioner Harvey.
Thank you. Madam President, I posed this question in the past, and I think I'm just going to pose it publicly. I question how we make our motions. And I've asked that we check into this to make sure that, and no fault of anyone, but just make sure that we're making our motions correctly. And I question if we have to, are we moving our motions forward? So I'm just throwing that out there, if we can get some confirmation on that. I just question the way we're presenting our motions. Okay. I want to just quickly mention, I was speaker last evening for the Waterbury Hospital 2016 Summer Bridge Parents Night. This is a summer program that is sponsored by the Waterbury Hospital, and these students will begin Monday. They seem very thrilled to do this. I was chuckling. They had to go and take a post-test, and a pre-test and then a post-test. So I want to congratulate Angela Holmes and her staff on this, and I look forward to seeing the results at the end of the summer. I think that I'm going to again make my appeal that I made at our last regular meeting in regards to changing the night that we meet, Thursday nights. Commissioners Hernandez and Tom Van Stone had to decide whether or not they were going to be late for our workshop. And I don't know, it just seems that something is wrong here when a commissioner has to decide between making a meeting or making a graduation. And I think we should move diligently to see if we can move this meeting night back to a Monday or a Tuesday, whatever the board decides, number one. And number two, when we're planning our graduations, I think there's something wrong when we have to decide between attending a meeting or attending a graduation. I think, number one, that the schools, when they're planning, need to check and see when our board meetings are and respect that. If there's a need for us to change the meeting, then we will change the meeting. But to have commissioners have to decide between the two, I think that just should not exist. So I'm asking that we next year look into that to make sure that we don't have to make that type of decision. Lastly, it pains me to hear that we still have issues at Gilmartin. And I think we need to look into that and to see. Apparently, we still have issues. When you fear that your child goes into a school, a safe haven, and they're being hit or they're being attacked, that should not be. So we need to, and I've asked for this before, we need to look at our bullying policies. We need to look and see what it is we can do to change that climate at Gilmartin. I know we've made some changes staff-wise, and we need to look and see if that's working, because it pains me to hear that our students are not safe in the school. So I would hope that we would look into this quickly and get things resolved quickly before the start of our next school year. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, could I have a motion to adjourn?
Thank you, Madam President, and just want some formal closing remarks for the school year. Dear Waterbury Public School staff, as the summer approaches, I want to take this moment to thank every one of our staff for their dedication throughout the year. We have a strong team of committed professionals, and I commend the faculty and staff on all the achievements of the school year. We have much to be proud of. This year was filled with many accomplishments, and that will be shared with the Board of Education on June 30th. And this was made possible by their true commitment and energy that they bring to work every single day. Our district is so fortunate that we have so many experienced and capable teachers, principals, and staff, and I'm grateful that personally, as their superintendent, for the passion and the expertise that they bring to the classroom every day. So I wanted to wish all the staff, students, and parents a very happy and relaxed summer. Thank you again for all your accomplishments, and I look forward to working with them in the fall. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. One last request. I would ask Commissioner Pagano if you would convene a meeting of procurement and purchasing to review the process for the contract, so that we're all clear what that process is and what our role is as board members and what negotiations take place, because I think there is some concern, or we need to clarify the process so we're all on the same page. I would appreciate it if you would do that.
I will take care of it.
Okay, thank you. Could I please have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.